Up,
Hey,
everybody? Hey, welcome to the All Leads Suck podcast, where we come at you every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook, also at youtube.com/All Leads Suck. Guys, my name is Dominic.
Luis Rodriguez.
and this is Sam.
Guys, and what we're really trying to do here with the podcast is prove to, actually, what we're learning too, because we've had a lot of really great guests on, is prove to you guys that it's probably not the leads. It's probably you or us assuming the leads suck. Because generally speaking, from a lot of the business owners that we're talking to and what we've experienced in business ourselves, a lot of times it's a numbers game, and it takes going through a good amount of leads that may not perform in order to get to the ones that give us great paydays. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we also have a lead generation and marketing company with a platform with Talking AI, and we have a really large customer base. And we directly use the platform as well. And it's tough, right?
Yeah.
Like, this game isn't for everyone. Would you guys agree?
Wow, dude, the consistency and follow up that you have to do. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
can take, I think you're still working on a guy from like 8 months ago. And, it's just sometimes it's just how it is. It just takes a long time to get these deals done. And then didn't we just talk about the other day we were trying to put a deal together and she sold it to somebody else before we could put it together?
I mean, which one? There's 50 of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to keep up, but you have to be consistent and on top of it.
You know, it would be cool to see metrics on how many no's to get just one yes. What do you think that number looks like, Sam?
I don't know, but I like the no's better than the yeses.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're getting them out of the way.
Yeah. I also phrase my questions so that the no benefits me more than the yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give us an example?
So instead of saying something like, um, do you want to get a cash offer on your house and hope for them to say yes, I would say something like, are you opposed to selling this property? Or are you opposed
Mhm.
to receiving a cash offer or a free home valuation on this? And then
No, I'm not
I'm
opposed.
not opposed. It's easier for them to say, no, I'm not opposed to that
Yeah,
than to say, yes, I want a cash offer.
Why is it easier?
Because yes is a
psychologically.
commitment.
Yeah.
You're
Uh-huh.
committing to something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder for people to commit, and it seems like a bigger step. Also, with the sales right now, or salespeople right now, everybody's using gimmicky techniques,
Yep.
which I don't think work with the consumers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
People can sniff it out right away, and if you act a little bit as a salesperson, you immediately are disqualified for that individual to trust,
Right.
or have any kind of trust to you.
Right.
Versus when you act like a regular human being, and you just build credibility instead of trying to get a sale, they just perceive you completely different, right?
What do you think is the biggest contributor to exactly that? What is going to help someone be a great individual in the seller's eyes or in the consumer's eyes, first and foremost, above all else?
It's gonna sound cliche, but it's really just in your mind. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you have any kind of fear or care, because none of that is real. Anything that people tell you on the phone is not real.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pressure and push them without care, you're just not going to get anywhere.
Yep.
So when you get somebody on the phone and they tell, "Oh yeah, I'm not interested in this." What are you not interested in? I didn't even tell you what I can
Right.
offer you, right?
Well, what are you offering?
But exactly, right? So now I get them talking.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What are you not interested in? Not
Yep.
interest is a level of interest, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk to those people and they're not, you know, telling you what you want to hear and you get discouraged by that, they don't give you the yeses and
Yep.
you immediately get discouraged by that, it just turns into a constant, drag of work that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you
Because
have
now
no,
you're just like everyone else, and
exactly,
you're not going to get
you
Right.
anywhere.
hate your job.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And the sellers hate you too.
yeah, everybody
Sellers
hates you.
hate you.
It's like
And you hate you.
you hate yourself, you hate your job, sellers hate you, the people that hired you hate you,
Your wife hates
your
you.
wife hates you. Yeah,
What about the children?
The kids probably hate you
I
too,
don't
for
know.
sure.
The only
And the dog.
well, not even a
When
human
it
being.
gets to the
The
point
only
where your
being,
dog hates
Yeah.
you,
yeah,
you're
You got
fucked.
problems.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
you're
the only
fucked.
being
That's
that
why.
probably doesn't hate you is either your dog or your cat. right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said. When it gets to the dog, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of the rope.
So at the end of the day, when you're making phone calls, you just have to strongly believe that nothing matters.
Mhm.
Nothing that they say matters. You're probably you can't lose a deal that you don't have,
Right.
Mhm.
right? So you can say anything, the wildest shit on the phone
Mhm.
and get away with it because you don't have that deal.
Right.
So it doesn't matter anyway.
So now we're talking. So I think we all understand being in this business and being excited about social media and marketing and just being like inclined on saying and showing the right things that gain attention, right?
Right.
So what is like one of the most wildest things that you've recently said that grabbed us else's attention recently?
I don't know. Lewis probably remembers them.
Okay.
I don't know. I heard him say the other day. Well, he was talking to somebody the other day, and he's like, "Listen, you're at 600,000. The house is only worth 4. Why don't you just ask for 1 million? If you're gonna waste time, you might as well do it right." You
Mhm.
know? I was just
No,
like,
it's
"Damn, bro."
right. You know what's so impressive about some of those comments because a lot of the people don't really know it, but we sit very close to each other when we're
Yeah.
operating the business, and so I hear almost everything that you say.
Hmm.
It's
I gotta be more careful now.
saying things like that, which is fine because the right people deserve those kind of comments because that's what they're dishing in the first place.
Hmm.
So they only understand that level of back and forth, but also turning them around, which I've heard a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like they have this level of disrespect. It's all they understand. It's probably how they communicate with their family members and their wives and their relationships and with their consumers. Who knows if that's a possibility why their life is in the crapper.
Hmm.
So unless you have that level of, I don't know if I want to call it disrespect on that
You can
side,
call it disrespect.
but communication right back in their direction, now they're like, oh shit, this is a real person. I probably shouldn't fuck around too much. They know exactly what they're talking about.
It's like punching a bully in the face,
Hmm.
right? You do nothing, they're just gonna terrorize people. You punch that guy in the
I
face, and
like
all of a
that.
sudden he's sitting over in the corner and never bothers
I
you or
like that.
anybody else, and they just,
So you're a little kid, right? Bully's been slapping you up for a
yeah,
couple of months. You get pissed off. You don't
yeah,
want to take it anymore. And then you punch him, and now he's not your bully anymore.
right. And most of the time, when he gets those types of people, I mean, he'll be on the phone with them for 40 minutes,
Hmm.
and he's going back and forth. And I know you and I sit there like, dude, screw this guy, get on with somebody else. But sometimes he turns them around,
That's
and it,
you.
it takes time.
I believe in long
Well, some of these
conversations.
people are out of their minds. I mean, some of the things that they say and ask for are completely crazy. But,
I think one of the
you know,
main contributors to getting great deals is having long conversations.
yeah, you definitely got to have
Long
long
conversations
conversations.
is super key
Yeah.
because who the fuck is going to sell their house in 5 minutes? It's not going to happen,
Well,
right? We're not there in front of their houses. And we had Mike McKay on a few weeks ago. And one of his things is he goes to the houses and then these people are talking to him, these sellers are talking to him, telling him, oh, these people are trying to buy my house over the phone and they want me to sign something over the phone. And he just completely respectfully, like for his business, I like it because I'd do the same if I was in his shoes. But he basically says, they're trying to buy your house over the phone,
yeah.
Over the internet?
over
Over
the
the internet.
internet.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And he asked them, he throws the question back in their direction. They're like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
he's like, did you buy this house over the phone?
Yeah.
Do you know anyone that ever bought or sold a house over the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he shits on it, they discard it, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to take that position? Because I think we all know that in-person sales is more powerful than phone sales. And then phone sales covers a lot of ground.
So I want to disagree with that though, because in person is not stronger than over the phone. You can go on in-person appointments and you'd still suck,
Hmm.
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So
Well,
people that say that in person is stronger, what they really mean is generally you can build higher credibility when you go in person,
right.
but it doesn't always happen. Because if you're a strong individual, I'll give you an example. The deal that we have right now in Fresno, California,
Hmm.
doesn't matter who would have gone to her house, she was going to sign
It's a
with
bad
us.
example.
Why?
Because her brother
It
told
was a great referral
It
Yeah.
was
fee.
a, but that's what I'm saying. We had the higher credibility in her eyes, right? So it didn't
It's a
matter.
very arguable point, but
Okay,
finish your
what's
thought.
arguable about it?
I think she only looked at iBuyers. I don't think she had people over her house
Not
talking
true.
to them.
She did. Both Home Lights and the realtor that she had listed with had gone to her house and talked to her. The realtor that listed her property had listed it for $625,000
2
two
years
years
ago?
ago,
Okay.
and then it just never sold.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She could have called the same realtor back and said, "Hey, come back here and
He
let's
failed
list."
her.
Correct.
Yes.
But now it's a lead,
So
right?
we
It's a lead with
successfully
certain.
performed for her brother, and
Correct.
he told her to use us.
That's what I'm
That is
saying.
one of
We
the
have
most
the credibility,
powerful things in
Yeah.
the
but
world.
we have the credibility in
Yeah,
her
but you can't
eyes.
do that on every
I
deal.
understand. And I respect the argument, but I think if you were going to homes, you'd have a higher close ratio. We'd cover less ground. I don't know if we'd make as much money, but I think you'd have a higher close
Let's
ratio.
talk
I think
about.
I'd have a higher close ratio. And Mike McKay's a good example because he's done both. And the
Yep.
reason he leaned toward in-home because he was getting more closes.
Hold on. What about the deal we have in Birmingham right now? That deal was locked up over the phone
Right?
at the lowest number than anybody else that had tried to lock that deal up
Right?
that went there after we had locked it up.
Correct.
So if we were going on in-person appointments with that
We
guy,
were first and we were
right,
fastest.
exactly. So how are you going to be first and the fastest if you're going on in-person appointments and you don't lock up deals over the
I
phone?
mean, we all love a good story,
Yeah.
but a story is not proof of stats.
I think people
I
just
I
like
think
the
the
idea
public
of that.
appreciates a
Yeah.
story and it sells shit. Like
Right.
one to us well-known example, but not to the general public, is I think people marketing wholesale strategies, courses, coaching, and tools to potential wholesalers will tell a story that will sell product. And what they won't highlight is probably that 99% of people that get in the industry fail or don't get a deal, right?
Right.
What are they going to do? They're going to highlight negative stats, or are they going to tell a story to sell product? So
So
one story, one example is not the basis.
we can go into more examples, but instead of going into examples, let's go back to the theory and the concept.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a person that goes on in-person appointments, and then there's a person that locks up deals over the phone.
Yep.
Do you think if this person that locks up deals over the phone and has a higher skill set and sales or close ratio than the person that goes over in person is going to have a higher success than the person that goes in person?
Are they equally as skilled?
No, the person that's doing it over the phone is more skilled.
I think the person over the phone who's more skilled.
What's the skill level? Let's do 1 out of 10, 10 being the most skilled.
10.
Okay, and the other guy's
The
a
one
5.
that's the
7.
most
The other
skilled,
guy's a 7.
Yes.
A 10 over
I
the phone
think
will
the
get it done.
one in person is going to do better. 'Cause I think
Really?
in person is 10 times more powerful.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's fine. And that's
Yeah.
fine. We'll never know the real stats because
Yeah.
we're probably not going to measure them. I mean, they may be out there somewhere.
Well, you can't really measure those stats, can you?
I think you would, yeah, I mean, if you want to, it's always going to be arguing because it's like, are you using the same exact lead flow,
Same exact
same
salespeople.
exact numbers because they're probably going through less leads because they go in person and they
Mhm.
can just cover only so much ground. And if what is most important to me is if their stats are better, are they at the end of the day making more money with less brain damage? Because like to me, it's a brain fuck making these appointments, going out there, wasting so much time and not getting a deal.
Right.
That is just mind blowing to me. I'd rather hit the phones in a comfortable office, hanging out with my buddies all day, doing deals,
Right.
right? And making more money, equal or more money, because I do think it covers a lot of ground. And at the end of the day, without comparing exact stats, I just feel like it makes more money and it's more scalable too.
Well, I think it's hard too because you look at our best deal right now on Kathy's house. That would have never
Another
happened
story.
just over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, that's a deal that had to be done in person, and it took me 4.5 hours in
But
person to
so
get it
see,
done.
that's a different
You know
deal.
what?
That's
It could have happened over the phone.
I don't
I don't think so.
Because if it could have happened
We
over the
didn't
phone,
try
I
it.
would have made it happen over the phone,
Right.
right? Now, if I had a chance,
if she was in another state, you would have.
that's what I'm saying. If I didn't have the chance to schedule the appointment, I would have taken that risk and tried to close it over the phone. But because the risk of losing that deal was a little bit higher, just because of that specificity with that particular lead, that's the only reason I chose to actually make it an in-person appointment versus trying to close it down online.
But the question
Okay,
is you don't
because
know
you
what
had
you
the
don't
option
know.
also.
But so the question is you
Yeah,
don't
but
know what
even
you
if
don't know. So how would you know if other people aren't giving us the time of day because we're not getting in front of them in the way that they feel more comfortable with?
Let's point these things out. She was a great lead
Mm-hmm,
with a great asking price.
Yep.
mm-hmm.
And for that matter, we were able to go in person and we made the right call and we felt that we should.
I mean, in all honesty, we would have probably flown somewhere to make sure we did that deal in person.
Probably.
We could
Because
have done that.
we've
We've done it.
flown to
But
other places for less.
it was also convenient to go there because you live in St.
Yeah,
Augustine.
yeah, of course.
So things fell in line. We were able to do it. But I think like if it's another market, we would have tried to take it down over the phone. We would have probably got it. I don't know if we would have got as good a deal. But you're justifying my argument.
No, I'm saying that's the story.
I
That's a
don't think
story. That's not a
I don't
simple.
think that that's necessarily the
Right.
story
But
because
you
I think a
made the
lot of
call.
people, here's
You
the
made
deal.
the call to go in person because it was sensitive.
Most people only sell one or two houses in their lifetime, so they're not familiar with the process, and it's the largest asset that they'll ever have. So they're unsure of how to do it, and they're not necessarily being put in a position where they're maximizing their potential profits. It's not like we're calling up and like, "Hey, your house is worth 5. I'm going to give you 575 in cash in 2 weeks." We're calling them saying it could be worth 5 someday. Here's 300,000. So I think that there's just a certain level where people are comfortable having certain conversations or uncomfortable. You get people like the guy in Texas who sends us anything and everything that we want to know, talking about grabbing beers and strippers, and then you take a look at other people who won't open up and they won't give you the time of the day. They want to charge you 750 for a house that's worth 500. So those people, would it be a little different if you were meeting them in person? Would they feel more comfortable working with you? Would they be more cooperative and not feel like you're trying to take advantage of them over the phone?
I
Because
think
some
you
of them
can.
are old too. Our
Can
demographic's
you build
55 plus.
really good rapport and establish enough credibility over the phone
I think
Yeah,
you
I think the
can.
answer is
in
yes.
every case, or in most cases, not in every case?
I think there's a lot you can do to build credibility. I think there is a lot these days because you have the internet. And if you put out enough information on the internet and you have enough credible factors to show these individuals that you do get it done, videos in title offices with real people, walking through real houses, having real testimonies, having things like YouTube, Facebook, and being able to say, like you guys used to send, call these title companies and find out if we're real.
A
Go to our
lot.
website. I'm the guy in the third row to the back left side. Those are things that
We
you
used
can
to
do
do
to
that so
gain
much.
credibility.
We used to do that so much. I'm surprised Title never said, "Hey, listen, you have to stop having people call us," because you have to think about it,
I
man.
don't
We're
think
talking
anybody
to.
called
I don't,
though.
yeah. I think they
They
felt
did
like,
call.
okay,
They did call.
really?
Yes,
No,
because we would
no.
ask. I
Okay.
never really checked to see is it overwhelming. People called. People checked up on credibility.
Yeah.
If you're really going to sell your house and you're concerned if you would trust
Yeah.
them, they're checking your website out. I
Yeah, but
promise.
calling a title company, I don't know.
I'm
Maybe.
certain they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm certain they did. There's a lots of times where they told us they did, and I mean that's just enough. They had to. We were saying it on almost every call.
Okay. So the question is, what are some things that would help you establish credibility so that you don't have to go in person?
Um, what are some of the things to help establish credibility?
Yeah. What
Your
are some
website,
things? So website,
your partners like your title companies.
title companies,
If you're a licensed real estate agent,
license.
um,
Like, that can help, but like,
I think like
we're not licensed
not
in Alabama.
telling them, but just being extremely educated, right?
Being educated
And extremely confident.
and confident.
Yeah. I mean, there's more. We can go on. I can just make shit up or just whatever. But I think like confident is probably stronger than being educated too. I don't know
Right.
if you guys would agree with that. But they also go a little hand in hand because the more educated you are, the more confident you'll be on the phone.
True.
Yeah. So like you just can't be a dumbass on the phone.
Mm-mm.
I think we all feel like we know that sellers will sniff that a mile away, and they're just going to go somewhere else.
So what would you say to somebody that you get on the phone and they're like, well, this person came to my house and they gave me this offer and I feel more comfortable going with them. Do you want to come to my house and give me an offer in person too? Because I don't want things to change.
I mean, there's a million things you could say. So one of the things is, listen, I've done hundreds of deals or over 1,000 or whatever, is in line with you. I've done hundreds of deals. I can have a very short conversation with you, ask you a lot of key factors that's going to tell me exactly how to estimate what's going on with regards to what kind of repairs it needs and things like that. And if they go to your home, most of the time they don't have a computer screen. I have 3 screens right in front of me right now where I'm going to analyze the area, the comparables. I'm going to look in line of what has already sold, what's currently for sale, and look at things that are going to tell me the exact values. And when I compare that with the amount of repairs the property needs, it's going to just tell me the story. Like people that go to your home, they don't typically do all of that right there in front of you.
Well, why can't you just come to my house then?
I can come to your house, that's totally fine. But the new way of doing things is typically like this. I mean, lots of companies, they're iBuyers, which are internet buyers, the home buying process, it's been streamlined, right? It's a lot simpler. You know, when someone comes to your house, you're going to feel pressured. Someone's in front of you, they're going to put paperwork in front of you, force you to sign. Like, I would never do that to someone. I want to make sure everyone's happy.
You would never force anybody to sign?
I would never force someone to sign.
Never.
They're going to force themselves to sign because it's just going to be such a great experience.
You're
You
gonna
know what?
force them to force themselves?
Yeah.
This conversation just made me think of when we do our PPC campaign, we should change our intro text to a credibility packet so that when we send that first text out that somebody reaches out, we should have some sort of credibility packet file attached to them so that it can send them like, make sure you check out the website, check out, here's our About Us page, check out our Instagram, look at the Google reviews, like whatever we can to try and really like push that we are credible, real buyers. We're here, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram and all of that so they can kind of see more of us. Cause I think you all agree that like when you watch things on the internet and YouTube and social media, you have this like celebrityism. We've always talked about like this
Sure.
celebrityism. So I think that first text could have that, hey, thank you so much. This is so and so. By the way, here's a credibility packet
I
on
like
who
that.
we are, what we do, how we function as an organization. Check us out, whatever. I think that would be a good thing for us to start putting out. So Pete, take note of that, of how we could do something like that.
I like
Because
that.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, DJ and Lindsay, when we did what we used to do is you do the calls, you do the text message, but then you would send your Zillow review page.
Mm.
So people that had 30, 40, 50 reviews, they would knock people down because they're like, dude, look, hey, I have 55 plus 5-star reviews on Zillow in the last 48 months. For an everyday user, they love that
Mhm.
versus the guy who has 3. So I think that if we do something similar like that, that'd be really good.
Well, I
Yeah.
have created an email because a lot of people ask me. People say email me this or that, but I actually proactively tell people whenever I'm talking to them to establish credibility. I'm like, listen, whether we end up doing business or not, I want to make sure that this transaction that you're about to do is a big decision, and I want to make sure you make the right step or the right move for yourself. So whether you end up selling the property to me or any other cash buyer or on the market, make sure that your buyer has the following things. And then I tell them, make sure they have proof of funds. And then a lot of people on the internet would just go to like transactionalfunding.com or some kind of website like that, download a letter from there that says, oh, this person is qualified to get $1 million to purchase this property. And it's just a PDF Word or a document that you can type up on Word and turn it
Mhm.
into a PDF. So I tell them, ask them for a copy of their bank statement so you actually see that they have the money. Ask them for their website and their reviews so that you can see what kind of real testimonials they have. And ask them for HUD statements or ALTA statements so they can show you what other properties they have actually closed on. And then go and check whether they actually closed on those properties or not. right? So when you tackle that before they can even question your credibility, because anybody you talk to is going to be concerned, is this person legit? And
Mm-hmm.
is this person going to be able to buy my house?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you bring it up first and you bring it up yourself, it kind of takes that pressure away
Right.
and they don't have that objection anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're like, "What? This guy wouldn't bring that up if he wasn't confident that he had those things." And then I say, "I'm gonna send you those things from my end. Here's the email that I have. Is that a good email for me to use?" And then I would send them. I pre-wrote a little template that basically describes our company. It says we're currently discussing purchasing this property from you. This is how many transactions we've done this year. Attached, please see our proof of funds letter or our copy of our bank statement, right? And then it just has a copy of our bank statement. So anytime we go to buy a property, I try to establish that credibility, and that kind of knocks out a lot of my competition because people that are talking to that same individual now don't have those things in line. So in the eyes of the seller, I'm here, and the other person that he's talking is here, and now he's cautious. He's like, well, why don't you have this? Why don't you have a bank statement, right? Because I already know they're going to send that letter. 99% of people on the internet that are buying houses are wholesalers, and none of them have money to actually buy the houses, right? So when they talk to the other wholesalers, then they're just going to get a letter and they're like, oh, this guy warned me about this.
Yeah.
And what happens in a lot of cases, those same sellers come back around because most of the time the price that I give out, first I try not to give out a price if I can, but the price that I do give out typically ends up to be lower than, anybody else that would give a price.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is they would go to those other people that gave them a higher price, and then they would take a contract from them and then bring it back to me and be like, can you look at this contract and tell me if anything is wrong here? Right? So I had 2 or 3 sellers that did that. We
Mm-hmm.
had an initial conversation. They shopped our offer, or not even an offer, because I don't put it in writing unless I know that they're actually going to sign and
Right.
agree. But like, say, a verbal commitment or something like that, they would go try to get a different number, and then somebody would send them a contract. In a lot of cases, just that they're asking price. So like recently, we had a guy. He had a new construction home. He bought it for like $385,000, and he was asking 400. 6 months later, and I mean, you can't sell it for 400 even on the market with a realtor. Maybe barely, right? And then he just submitted a couple of cash offer inquiries, and he's like, "Yeah, these people are giving me 400,000." I'm like, or 398,000. I'm like, so they're gonna give you more than what the retail value of the property is worth, and they're gonna buy it for cash, and it just makes no sense, right? So to me, it's like, what is your business model consist of? If you're just going to give an asking price on a property that you just by looking at this estimate, it's overpriced, right? Not even running comps. And just any logic to be applied, a brand new construction doesn't go up in price over 5, 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? That much.
Right.
Especially if you're going to sell it cash. So you're going to get it under contract for 400 and try to sell it for 450, and the builder's selling everything for 389, right?
Well, they're doing like 450, but they have a shitload of incentives that basically drops it down to
So,
389.
what about the house? We bought the house in St. Augustine, right? And we were going to sell to an iBuyer. What was the price that they initially told us?
Like 580, 562, and then it went to 582 when we did the size adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it dropped,
They
we
did
were
a they
netting
did
110.
a not a physical look at it, but
Yeah.
there was a computerized estimated number, and then a person took a look at it and took several days and probably actually ran
It took like
comparables and
3 or 4
back-end
days.
numbers.
Yeah.
And then what did it drop to?
Um,
I know the number.
it was 110,000 over.
It dropped to 430.
Was it 430? Yeah.
It dropped to 430. Yep, yep. So, I mean, they can
What
be
did it go
going
for?
through the same thing. They can be looking at computerized estimates, but when someone takes a real close look, like a real human being, looks at it and run numbers, now the number's down here.
Yeah.
But what kind of computerized estimate is going to give? an estimate on a new construction home. And like you don't look at Zillow?
No, they're just looking at the comps and
I don't know what the computer's
have a
looking at.
number preset, like
I think
30%
like
plus the
if
7% in
it's
fees or
yeah,
11% in fees. So they're basically looking at it like we're going to get a 42% discount on this house.
like if a company is truly trying to be like its own individualized separate company with its own capabilities, they don't really want to go by and depend on other systems like the Zestimate, right?
Right.
So PropStream is an example. PropStream can look at the Zestimate, but it has its own PropStream estimated value, right?
Yeah.
And then the same with, so Baycomb has its own value. Other websites have their own estimated values. And then Open Door has its own separate way of evaluating things. And I think that's because now you have this company, it has its own capabilities, and they're great in their own way. So if they're going to sell it one day, they can. They're not dependent on another company going in or out of business.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, all right, so someone's telling you maybe they did see 400,000. It could be a lie, but maybe they did see 400,000. Is that just the attractive number for now
There's no way.
until there's a reduction
There's
later?
no way anybody saw 400,000. It was just some kid that, paid
Not that
$500
they'll
for
pay
ads.
them, but did they truly advertise it to them or tell it to them? Or do you think the seller's lying?
No, he sent me the contract with a $400,000 purchase price.
Okay.
He sent
Was it
me,
a wholesaler
of
contract?
course, of
Okay.
course, it was a wholesaler
Written
contract.
on a napkin.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it wasn't written on a napkin, but it was 100% a wholesaler contract with freaking,
So what do you think went
45-day
wrong there?
inspection.
Do you think they intentfully want to renegotiate the seller or they just don't
I
know
think
what
they
they're
just
doing?
don't know what
Just
they're
don't know what they're
doing.
And
doing.
it wasn't a subject to or anything like that.
No, that's the deal. I didn't even make him a cash offer. I said, "Well, listen, man, if I make you a cash offer, you're gonna have to bring a lot of money to the closing table. Are
Yeah.
you looking to do that?" He's like, "No." So I'm like, "You're not gonna be able to sell this property for cash. You won't even be able to sell it retail." And
Mhm.
then you have to educate them why, right? Because you can't tell somebody the snow is black when it falls down from the sky, right? There's no explanation to that. So you have to just show proof that the snow is white when it comes down from the sky. So when you're talking to these people, unless you educate them and explain why what they're looking for is not existent on planet Earth, they're not going to have any um like they'll just continue to waste their time and think that they're going to hit that
They just want to
lottery.
believe what they want to believe.
Right.
Do you, well, it's so funny where, like, so say you give an offer to someone for 250,000, right? And you had an amazing phone call and you're very credible and very well educated and extremely confident. And someone that doesn't even have 20% of what you have might get the deal just by telling them a higher number
Mm-hmm.
because it excites them and they want
Mm-hmm.
to get that.
Happens all
Want
the
to get
time.
They'll
that
screw
number.
you for $1,000.
Yeah. And with that?
The homeowner will screw you for $1,000. Yeah, like they don't
Yeah,
care.
it happens all the time.
Yeah, they look
Yep,
at it.
yep,
They're like,
yep.
oh shit, I got an extra $1,000. I'll take
They're
this
But you
contract.
so
have to know,
hopeful, even though it's not realistic, they're so
but
incredibly
you have to
hopeful.
get that out of them, right? You have to get them to admit, like, I had a lady I was talking to yesterday, and we came to an agreement on practically everything. Um, I have a scheduled call with her because the house is not only on her name, it's also on her parents' name, right? So we've came to an agreement. She still felt hesitant, right? She told me a minimum price that you'd have to walk away from the property. And I said, well, if I can get to that number, do we basically have a deal?
Right.
And she just wouldn't give me a straight answer. So you have to call that out. Because if you just continue to massage it and go around and beat around the bush,
Yeah.
you will never get a result and you'll never get a signed contract.
You're just doing elongated sales and you're not trying to close a deal.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
So I don't want to be a customer service rep. So that's why, because you're trying to close, you have to call those out. Because a price being an objection doesn't mean that you have to, go around that objection or not bring that up.
Yeah. And it's not your job to try to get a higher price.
Right.
Right.
Right? Then if that's the case, I don't need a sales guy. I can just have a computer pitch 430. They want 440. The computer gives them 440. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right.
What do you need
So
a
this
salesperson
is
for?
how you call it out. You say, well, listen, we've gone through all the steps. You've told me everything about the house. You've told me about everything, your situation. You even gave me the time frame and you told me you can't move out of the house until you find another house. If we structure it in this way and we give you plenty of time to find another house, we make that contingency in the agreement that we're buying this house contingent on you buying, finding and buying another property, and you're taking the proceeds from this sale and buying another property, and there is no cost associated with this transaction that you pay, so there's no fees, there's no commissions, there's no repairs you have to do, and we can net you the $125,000 that you just mentioned to me. What is holding you back from moving forward?
I don't
Agreed.
know you and I don't trust you.
Agreed.
So
And
in
I don't
her
trust you.
scenario, she said, well, there's really nothing. I mean, I was hoping I could get a little bit more money.
Mhm.
So immediately you know what it is, right? So
So I had a gentleman yesterday. I was on and off the phone with him a lot. And on 3 different occasions, this is obviously you locked him up already, so we already have him under contract. But on 3 different occasions, oh, and I renegotiated him to the assignment. On 3 different occasions, he asked for more money.
yeah,
And all I did was acknowledge the complaint,
yeah,
right? He was like, oh, I wish I could get a little more. I was like, I know, man. I totally get it, man. It makes sense.
I hear you,
I would
bro.
want more too. All right,
yeah.
let's get this signed.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did the same thing with this lady because I said, well, how much more money were you trying to get? Because you just told me you wanted
Mhm.
125,000. She's like, well, it'd be nice to have 150,000. And so I said, well, you know what? It actually would have been even nicer to have 200,000, wouldn't it? And she's like, yeah, I understand. And I'm like, I totally get it too. I don't even know if I can get a full approval on 125,000, but that's the number you gave me. I don't want to hold you to any numbers, but if we come to that agreement and we come to that number, do we have a trade? Your parents would be a secondary opinion, but in your mind, do we have an agreement? And then we went through the whole motion again, and she said yes. So she said yes 3 times. And then I don't want to sign, I don't want to send her an agreement. I don't want to talk to her because there's another party that has to sign off. Right. So I'm trying to get all of them together so that we can actually move forward.
Right. Yeah. So, and then, I had the other lady on the phone for 2 nights in a row
Mm.
that also asked for more money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's almost as if, you just have to spend time and you do have to let them vent and you do have to be a shoulder for them to lean on.
Yeah.
Talk about their problems, have a conversation, have a good time until they're okay with not asking anymore or just acknowledge it. I totally get it. Let's get through this process. I mean, that's kind of one of my things with her. I get what you're asking. Let's just get through. We haven't even started. This is day 2.
Right.
Let's get through this process and let's get to the end.
That
And let's get you
scenario,
what you signed up for.
that scenario with that seller where she signs an agreement for one price and then sees another price and goes, oh, well, how much of that do I get? It's like, what do you mean? You signed for that price. Why
Mhm.
would you get any of that? Well, I don't know. I feel like I should get some of that. It's like, where did you come up with that? Why do you think that?
Yeah. So you bought an apple for a quarter. You just sold it to me for $1.
Yeah.
I just sold it to that guy for $250.
Right.
Do
So
you
it's like,
deserve some of that?
no.
Would you want some of that?
I mean, I don't deserve any of it.
But would you want some of it?
Sure. I'd be like, dude, why didn't you tell me
So
you
you
could have
wouldn't
sold
ask?
that for $250?
Would you ask?
Now let me ask you this.
I mean, no, I wouldn't.
Now let
though.
me ask you this. You have an apple, you bought it for 25 cents. I offer you $1. You say yes. I reach into my pocket for $1. Before I give it to you, I tell this guy, "Hey man, I'm gonna buy that apple for $1. You're gonna give me $250 for it?" And you hear that, right? And he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you $250."
Yeah, but
So I go like, "All right, here's your dollar."
yeah,
What
but
would
we
you do?
already signed paperwork.
We didn't sign yet.
But we did.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We
That's
did
true.
already sign
All
paperwork.
right, so we signed a napkin for the $1.
Yeah. So we already signed paperwork. So
So if
that's
you
where it's
signed the
tricky.
But to be
If I
honest,
heard that
let's all
conversation,
be
I'd be upset.
100%
I'd be upset if
honest.
I heard that conversation.
We signed the napkin.
Yeah.
I go to give you, you heard the 250, I go to give you that. Would you be apprehensive? And would you try to fit yourself in the middle of that other
Well,
transaction?
if it was happening at the same time, yes. But
Because I know I fucking would.
we all know
And the
though,
thing is, if you know you would,
the assignment fee is
then
the
you
fee.
should figure out a way how to resolve it.
But okay, so here's the deal. You put a deal together, right? Take Kathy's house, right? We're gonna make 150 grand. Should the person buying it ask us, "Hey man, I need like 50,000 of that. I didn't think you guys were making 150. I need 50. You guys could take the 100 though. Can I just have 50 back?"
Mm-hmm.
Why would they be able to do that?
Why would they or why would they not?
Why would they? Because that's like asking why the buyer wouldn't say, "Hey, you just made $249 on that apple. Why don't you give me $10 off?" What does it make a difference? The apple works for him at 250.
Right?
So why should he get money off just because you made money?
Let me ask you a question. The guy that recently,
If
hold on.
he's gonna do something spectacular with it and make more,
Who
or
knows?
hasn't eaten in 2 weeks and that apple's gonna save his life,
The value of that apple was worth $250 for him.
then he either pays the 250 that we agreed on, and because I have a written agreement with him, right?
But does
Or he's gonna just step into a grave in 10 minutes.
did the apple lose value because you made $249?
It might have mentally lost value to him because he knows I got it for $1.
Hold
Then
on,
he's
let me
weak
let me
mentally.
ask you a question now.
But I
He's
think
mentally
Hold on, hold on,
I
hold
think
on.
there are things that we're missing
He's a-
here.
Okay, hold on.
He's a
So
mental midget.
what happens if you go through that scenario? He signs the napkin, and you're about to give him $1, and you also signed a napkin.
But I didn't give it to him yet,
You
right?
didn't give it to him.
It's
You're
right
holding
here.
the dollar here.
And he thinks he's making
But the both of you guys
75% on his money.
hold on, but the both of you guys have the napkin that you guys both have copies of.
Yeah, we
right?
signed.
So now you also sign a napkin with the other guy that's going to
Yeah.
give you $250
Paper
Yeah.
towel.
paper towel,
Right.
and he signed the paper towel and he's giving you $250.
Correct.
Now this guy,
And I'm reaching for it. So I got the
Right.
dollar, but I'm
you
reaching
got the
here.
dollar, you're going for the $250. Now this guy goes directly to him and says that this guy is scamming.
Yeah, that's the truth though.
Is it a scam?
That's the truth
It's
though.
technically legitimate, right?
And hold on,
Well, yeah.
hold on.
I'm resourceful and I'm saving this guy's life.
Okay,
But what's funny is he thinks he's saving
this
your life.
guy goes to him and
Yeah.
says, "Listen, he's only giving you $1. I'm giving $250 for
Right.
this apple. Let's make a deal, and I'll give you $150 for this apple."
Right.
And then he starts questioning if he should get more money. Who's right and wrong in this situation?
They're both wrong.
I
Both pays.
think there's a technical order of processes here, and they should be followed. So I think anything outside of what we agreed upon is wrong,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
But what about ethically?
Ethically?
Ethically, I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Why would there be something
Is there
ethically?
something?
I don't
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
an ethical
Ethically,
issue.
I'm asking a different question. Ethically, is it right for this guy that sees
No, it's
a
wrong for him.
$249 assignment fee
He's a
to
hater.
go to this guy and
That's
say that
unethical.
He's a hater.
right?
Yeah.
We have written agreements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paper towel here.
You have paper towel and a
Napkin
And
napkin.
what's
here.
even more interesting is that
Yeah.
guy isn't even the person
I
who's supposed to
think
be
what's
handling
going to
the
happen is,
transaction.
even if he succeeds, right, there's further issues down the road because we have written agreements. But I'm a resourceful apple getter, and he's just getting one apple.
But
So, 2 days when he's hungry again and he has $10,000, I may not sell him the next apple for $10,000. And then either his flipping business fails or his eating apple business fails and he dies.
what's funny is that guy is also paying somebody else $20 to buy that apple from you. He's
But I
not
can
buying it
get
directly.
motherfucking apples. I got Apple Stream, and I pull Apple lists, and I
Yeah.
market for apples, and I'm a resourceful apple getter, and I'm fucking saving lives in 12 different
Yeah,
markets.
and dodging
Okay.
dimes.
And if you don't have those resources, then you have no way to
Now,
get
I
out.
just want to confirm anything we had discussed here did not happen in real life, right?
No, we've never sold apples before.
No,
Okay.
they happen. It happens.
We've never
with
sold
with
apples.
apples, no, but in real estate, yes, it
Yeah.
happens.
Okay,
I mean, we're trying to protect our interests every single day.
Yeah,
right.
fighting for
Money
our
makes
lives over
people
here.
crazy, you
Right.
know?
It really does.
And what we're doing is we're bird dogging for people. We're out there running around scatterbrained trying to put a
Bird
deal
dogging.
together and make a small profit, feed our families,
Right.
Very
right?
minimal.
So when we're bringing that to the market and solving problems for investors and flippers and even homeowners,
People are out there for our blood.
they're out for our blood, man.
Yeah.
They're out
Yeah.
for our blood because money's making people crazy. And and then maybe it's our fault too, right? Are we educating them? Are we over educating them? And should we over educate them on all we go through to provide this to them?
I don't think so.
I think it's
Should you
falling
have
on deaf
to?
ears.
Should you and should you have to are two different things, though.
I
Should you
think
have
it's
to?
scenario based.
Technically,
I
no.
think it's
They
scenario
should
based.
respect an agreement.
Yeah, it's really scenario based, but I think, especially on the retail side of things, when you're doing something untraditional, sometimes it's easier if you have the means and the capacity to just make it seem like it's everything's traditional and nothing's really going to differ, maybe that's the right way to do it and not even educate people. Why is it that we don't provide our, outstanding original agreement that has an ovation clause to the realtors or the buyers? We just provide the authorizational
Well,
list.
I mean, I'm not saying you reveal everything because you need to stay in business. You can't show them all your
But the
tricks.
question is, do you even have to go to the point where you provide the authorizational list
To whom?
to the realtor or whoever?
Well, that's the issue. It
Wait,
wasn't the
wait, is this a
realtor, it was the
scenario?
retailer.
Yeah,
It was the person who hired somebody else to do their job. And they have no license whatsoever, and they're saying, I think this is illegal. But the realtor was like, it's not illegal what they're doing, it's just you don't understand it.
right.
And the realtor understands it. It
Yeah.
took him a minute to understand the terminology, but he gets the process. It's just not something he's used to dealing with.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if it
Alright.
was typical every day, then he'd probably understand because you have to be honest, like this industry is exciting.
Well, there's
Like
so many moving parts.
it's exciting, it creates opportunity, and once you do it over and over and over, like you get the routine like the back of your hand. And someone who's never done it before, they're just like super curious, not always super interested, but potentially super skeptical.
There are agents and brokerages that have done hundreds or thousands of transactions and have never heard of innovation. They've never heard of sub
Of
2.
course.
They don't know how to put together a seller finance contract for the most part. Probably not even a lease option,
I just
right?
talked to an owner of a lending company yesterday.
Yeah,
Barely understood an assignment,
I know.
you know? And that's
That was
fine
hilarious.
because
But
on the
it sounded
retail
like he'd
side
been
of the
doing it for 30
business,
years.
do you guys ever do assignments of contract on the retail side of the business?
Well, if you look at the FAR bar, it has
Mm.
assignable contract and
It's
responsibility on there. But
probably something that agents just brush by.
most of the time, everybody just has not
Well,
assignable
let
because
me
they
ask
don't
you this.
understand it.
In past brokerages that you guys have worked at,
Yeah.
do the realtors actually know what assignability is?
No.
Do they know that you can sell an agreement
No.
or you can just assign it for no dollar?
They
It depends on the agent. It
th-
depends
But
on the agent
just
and
if
their
you had to
no.
guess, or if you
Agent
know, or have to just guess on the mass majority of that one group,
I
or
don't
any one brokerage.
I think they understand somewhat,
I would say it's
but
50-50.
I don't think
I
that
think
they
people who
truly
have
get it.
done enough transactions have come across it, especially right now where every second person who has access to YouTube is a wholesaler and they're just calling agents because that's the free way of getting deals, right?
Right.
Um, I think realtors are starting to find out and figure out what wholesaling or assignability is.
I guarantee you no
It's
realtors know
true.
about pass-throughs, they're not understanding of double closing, they're not thinking about blind HUDs or anything like
They're
that, so
not
they
thinking
probably don't
about a lot
even
of
know
things.
if they're getting assigned.
Yeah, but the question is, do they know
Putting
what that is or not? Whether and not, do they know all the aspects of what could come with it?
Yeah, they that's why I said I think they understand on a small level. Yeah, wholesaling is when you sell something like this, and that's all they understand, but they don't
Yeah.
understand
Well, here's
all
the
of the moving
unique
parts. They
thing
couldn't
about
put a transaction together themselves, is what I'm
here's the unique thing about wholesaling real estate, right? Wholesaling in general, before wholesaling in real estate became a big thing, and then during and after, is you buy a product from a supplier at a wholesale dollar value.
saying. Right.
Say it's gum,
Yep.
you might buy it for 10 cents,
Yep.
and then you sell it in your retail store to a retail buyer at a dollar, right? You buy it for 10 cents, you sell it for a dollar, right? Well, you can't go out there and buy wholesale houses. Like in general, there's not a wholesale platform or a wholesale supplier.
Right.
We have to create that wholesale
Well,
product.
we are
Yes.
the supplier.
We're the
We are the
supplier,
market.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What I'm saying is like, yeah. So we have to basically create that product.
Yeah.
It's not streamlined where it's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and create
You can't just go to the store and buy it.
$100,000 houses, same cookie cutter one. No, it's extremely creative
Right.
with all the different type of assets, the different processes, the different exit strategies. Like we're creating that wholesale product,
Right.
and then we're selling it to the retail buyer.
Well,
So the concept of wholesaling is just super unique. Even though it's more well known than ever, there's so many people that have no idea
If
Well,
what the
I'll
they
hell.
explain
understood
why.
it,
When you go to a gum supplier and you buy gum for 10 cents and you sell it for $1, is completely different. When you go to wholesale houses, every single deal is completely different
and
Unique.
that's what I was just
from
gonna
the
say.
other one
All right.
because you don't just, apply the same methods or you don't just use the same instruments and you don't pay the same prices for the real estate that you're buying. Every single deal has its own kinks, challenges, and benefits,
Yep.
right? So the other thing is that when you're buying gum, most of the time, there are credit lines and stuff like that, but it's like, okay, you pay me for the gum and then you go sell the gum, right? There are obviously manufacturer credits and like lines of credit and people selling,
Back end money.
yeah, back end money, whatever
Rebates.
it is. But with real estate, it's like there are so many exits and you have to know so much.
So that's what I was getting at. We know that we're getting this house in Middleburg right now, right? A realtor went out there, gave him a price. The price doesn't make sense. He goes, I'm not going to pay you
Give
money
like the
to
real
sell.
numbers. Give the real numbers.
The house is worth 220. He owes 100 and he owes one.
195.
No. He needs 212 to break even. After all closing costs, fees, and everything, he would be negative like $5,000. Or he goes
If
our
he
route.
listed it with
If
an
he
agent.
listed it traditionally, if he took a cash offer, he'd be underwater 50 grand. If we do a different option, sub 2 on the property, he can walk away completely free of charge. We can put $1,000 in his pocket, right? 500. I think we're giving him $400 or $200, but we can put money in his pocket. It doesn't cost him anything, and he doesn't have to make any more properties while he waits for that to sell, waits for it to go under contract, waits to get approved for funding, and then closes on it because now he's going to be behind more payments and he's going to lose even more money. So if
So
you understand
how
that,
much was he gonna lose
it was going to
in a
lose like
retail transaction?
if they closed in 14 days, which is impossible, right? He would have lost
Why is it
$5,000
impossible?
because they would have had to they would have had to straighten it up, take photos, put it on market, get a buyer in there, vet them, put them through underwriting, get appraisal, and then sell the
Inspection,
inspection, and then
repair requests,
close the
repair
property,
completions.
run title, do all those things. All of those things are going to take a minimum of 21 days, roughly.
And do you think
We
that
had
property would have even sold if you listed at retail value within a day?
No. I mean, I think the market right now is like 45 days, something like that. So let's say it would have taken 45 days plus 21 days for closing. He would have been 2 more months behind, which means instead of losing $5,000, he would have lost $7,400.
Okay.
Or you go our route and you break even and move on, or you go our route and you make $1,000 and move on. That's because I understand how
And
the
what's
process for
hold on.
listing, I understand the process for cash, I understood the process for sub 2. And when I explained all three to him, he was like, the only one I don't get screwed on is the last one.
And what's the last one? What's the process?
Sub 2.
Okay, well, how
We
does it
take
work?
over his mortgage. He sells the property. He keeps the mortgage in place. We take over the mortgage. We rent it out to somebody else. We balloon the property in 10 years. He's out the door. He doesn't have to
What
worry
does
about it.
it
And in
mean?
10 years, he gets 10 grand.
What does it mean we balloon the property?
We pay off the property essentially and get his mortgage out of the property.
Okay.
So and in 10 years from now, I think we wrote it up that he gets $10,000.
Why wouldn't everybody sell their house like that?
Because some people need their money now. He has a different situation too. Like if he doesn't own a property, they'll pay him money to live somewhere. So in his eyes, he's like, I'm going to get paid now to live on barracks. I'll get $1,500 more a month now. So I don't really care that I'm not making anything because I'm not losing anything either. So in his eyes, he's making 5 grand because he's not losing it. And now when he moves to the next place, he'll get 1,500 a month in living stipends that he wasn't getting before. So it works really well for him. I don't know if it will always work for everybody. There are people who need 100 grand to go buy their house. They have to sell their house, get a
You're
hundred
probably
grand in
really more so
equity.
asking why wouldn't everyone in that scenario do it that way?
Everybody would if they knew it, but the problem is the realtor going out to their house doesn't know it, hasn't suggested it. They trust that realtor. The realtor gives them
And they
this
might say, I've been
process
in
in
real
their
estate
mind.
for 20 or 30
I've
years.
never heard of that. That's ridiculous. Let me call my broker. The broker doesn't know about it either. The broker goes, yeah, I kind of like heard some of those things. This guy used to teach it back in the day,
I don't
never really
trust
did
it.
anything. I don't like it. Don't do it. And then they're like, oh, well, they said don't do it, so I shouldn't do it now. They just, it's such a different way of thinking sometimes that trying to turn those people around is difficult. The problem is when they get into enough pain, they're like, I'm just willing to do anything at this point. And it's kind of like a little too late. We've looked at houses before where there was a lady who was in foreclosure for like 9 years. Remember that attorney kept pushing her foreclosure? She was in the hole more than what the house was worth.
Hmm.
So it's like even if you paid her, you could pay off her arrears, and the house wouldn't even be worth what you just paid. So how do you make that? How do you make that work?
It's
There's no way to
cool.
even put that
We
deal
actually
together.
have an expert in our office at loan modifications. And
Very
what we
true.
do is we like to give it to that individual and he can just take it all and put it on the back end.
That's
So you
true.
really don't have to pay much of any
I
cash.
love that process. We owe that guy a steak dinner because
Yeah. Dude,
he
how many
just
times do
changed
you
our
think in the
lives
last 30 days did we say steak?
a lot.
Dude, I just hit Savannah up, the lady on Millie, with a steak dinner.
Yeah.
Because basically, so she was gonna buy the mobile home for 57,000, and she found one for 24,000. I said, for 24,000? She's like, yeah. I said, that's amazing. Can you send me some pictures? She's like, of course I can. She sent me pictures, and I was like, all right, now you're gonna have to cook us a steak dinner in that house. And she said, absolutely.
And now she lost that.
And now she lost it. Yeah.
And she lost it.
Sucks.
Why does that make you happy?
No steak dinner.
Why does that make you
It
happy?
doesn't make me happy. It's just the
I
situation.
laugh with the biggest smile I've ever shown anyone when I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But I think we can solve her problem. I mean, that's what we're here
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah. Just gotta
So
find
now
another
what are we
25
gonna do for her?
We gotta
Now
go look for apples.
we're gonna get her some apples. Yeah.
We gotta find
Yeah, I
another.
mean, essentially, like, so basically, just so that people know, so we're buying her house.
Yep.
We're selling the agreement or novating it to an end buyer. She needs to go somewhere, so in return, she was going to buy a mobile home. That fell through. Now we have to find a home, which we can either put it under contract and assign it to her, or we can be the representing agents on that home, or a referral fee, or something, one of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
So
can't
we
do a
can,
referral fee or an agent because it's not in our state.
Yeah,
oh, you
but
can
you
do
can
a
send a
referral fee.
referral fee
Oh
to
yeah,
another
yeah,
state.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yep, yep,
Out of
yep,
state
But then
referral.
you won't make shit for money, so you might as
yeah,
well just assign a deal to her.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. But it's all about taking care of her, right?
Customer centric. Customer centric is what they call it. It's actually like a degree now that you can get customer centric.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is it really?
It's literally how you can build your business around your customer so that you're supporting them in the
Dude,
highest extent to get.
so Dom Jr. is just went into seventh grade, and he has to take elective classes, and his options were like art, music, and a bunch of other stuff, and one of them is podcasting in middle
Wow.
school.
Wow.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
he started a podcast?
He
Or did
picked
he write a
art
book?
first. Obviously, I wanted to be his choice, but I encouraged the podcasting. I thought it was really cool. He picked art first, podcasting second. They gave him his first.
Nice.
Yeah,
Is
so
that the
he
one who
didn't get
wanted
the
to write a book?
podcasting.
Oh, you have to choose three and then they choose what
Yeah,
they're gonna give you?
Yes, based on availability and all that stuff.
Ah.
Probably, I think they factor in grades too,
probably.
and he's got amazing grades, so they just gave him what he wanted.
Was that your son that wanted to write a book? Or was that your other son? Didn't your son ask you to, can I write a book?
Yeah, yeah, that was the one that wanted to write a book. Dom, Dom. Yeah, yeah. He's
We need to switch
very
him to
optimistic,
podcasting.
very optimistic
You should just
young
tell him
boy.
that podcasting is verbal books, basically.
Yeah, yeah, but write a podcast.
Yeah. Tell him to write our next podcast.
Cool. We ready to wrap this up, boys?
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think we can probably. What's the longest you think we can sit here and talk deals and experiences in one stretch?
Hours. I think we
mean,
could. I don't think we would.
don't we just go in the other
I
room and talk about the same thing?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I literally, honestly, I think I can do an 8-hour podcast like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be boring for people to watch, but we could do it.
I don't think so.
There's slow. There's a little
Um,
slow time here
The
and
4 people that watch us will watch.
there.
hey,
all
Ma,
of
the
our
meatloaf.
all of our wives.
Cool. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys once again. Remember, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook and also at youtube.com/all eats. So go ahead and check us out. We're always coming to you with the fire, and we'll see you next time, guys. I'm Dominic.
Lou.
And this is Sam.
Peace. Have a good one.